Hi everyone, and welcome to Upgrading to Microsoft SQL Server 2014. Today I'll be talking with my colleague John Martin about how to upgrade your SQL Server 2005, 2008, or 2008 R2 to a more recent version of SQL Server. We'll be doing this in 3 modules. We'll start by talking about how to plan for your upgrade and some of the processes and tools available to you. And then we'll move into sizing and scaling your upgraded environment. Finally, John will tell us how to actually perform your upgrade and validate it. My name is Debbie Lyons, and I'm a Senior Product Marketing Manager with the SQL Server team. And I focus on enabling our small and medium business customers. I also work on Microsoft Azure and the upgrade and update scenarios. And with me, I have John Martin from our Premier Field Engineer team. And he's going to be telling you all about all the steps to get to SQL Server 2014.
Thank you very much, Debbie. Yeah, I'm John Martin. I'm a Premier Field Engineer specialising in SQL Server based in the UK. Main areas that I work with are SQL Server infrastructure, focusing primarily on the HADR side of things. Also looking into upgrades, migrations. I'm doing a lot of work in that area at the moment. Been in the IT industry for over 10 years now, specialising with SQL Server for most of it now. Covering things like speaking with customers, educating them, helping them and becoming a trusted advisor to help them get through with understanding the product, where it's going, and just generally what we can do to help them out. So also presenting in the community an awful lot as well. So getting out there and making sure that people understand what SQL Server is and how best going to use it.
Well, great, John. We really appreciate the expertise that you're bringing in, especially all the field experience that you've had actually performing upgrades.
Okay, thank you very much. So, as Debbie said, we've got 3 main modules that we're going to be covering today. We're going to be looking at the sort of upgrade planning, the process, and some of the free tools that we have available as Microsoft. Then we're looking at the actual planning of the upgraded environment, how you're going to go about understanding the data you've captured, what data you've captured, and how that's going to sort of influence the way that you move forwards. And then finally, we're going to look at the validation of the actual upgrade itself, the upgrade, and then some considerations that you might have once you've gone live with the new product as well. So, quite a lot to cover, but let's get on with it. So, main audience that we're looking at this one, we're looking really at sort of SQL Server DBAs, developers, and people that are going to be involved in understanding where we're going with the product, understanding what the new features are and how they're going to make use of them. Okay. Ideally, it'd be really useful to understand some of the SQL Server 2014 features, and there's some great content here on MVA already about that side of things. So understanding what SQL Server 2014 is and can bring to you, and the reasons you'll really want to look at upgrading for it. Okay.
Right, and I'd like to make a plug also for the availability of a free SQL Server evaluation copy that you can download from Microsoft.com. Really a great way to play around with the tool and get some ideas about the features you'd like to take advantage of.
Okay, so we shall start. We're looking at our first module here. We're going to be looking at sort of upgrade planning, process and tools. So the main elements of this module we're going to be looking into are identifying the key business requirements, because without business requirements, there's no real justification for an upgrade there. There's some elements around their supportability and such like from Microsoft that we'll cover as well. Then we'll look at the migration process steps, and then we'll cover some of the free tooling. So, identifying business requirements. This is, in my experience, one of the most key elements. Historically, migrations have been relatively simple. But moving forwards, systems are getting more and more complex. In this day and age, you're talking about bigger databases, more databases. We're talking about more complex application tiers as well that are sitting above these systems, so hundreds of web servers potentially talking into a SQL Server system. So understanding what the requirements are that the business has for keeping them up and keeping the general system availability during the migration phase, and what new features they want to understand and make use of. So, why upgrade? This is going to be a really interesting one. Supportability. The big headline one here is that April 2016, support for SQL Server 2005 is going to end. So once you're beyond that, it's an unsupported platform. So looking at things like compliance areas, so things like PCI DSS, the requirement to be on a supported platform, very, very important for a lot of businesses in this day and age. So that's going to be, I think, one of the main drivers for people to come off of 2005. Additionally, the fantastic features that we have in the new product, 2012 introduced availability groups, 2014 enhanced that, brought in the in-memory OLTP engine. We've got column store that's gone through 2012 and have been enhanced again in 2014 to give us cluster column store. So there's some fantastic features there that sit and can really enhance the application tier that you're looking at making use of in this day and age. And then we've got some of the changes that have happened between 2008 and 2012 in the memory architecture, and 2014 introducing its brand new cardinality estimator to really sort of help drive improvement in query performance and standardization of the way that the engine's actually going to be taking what you give it and returning the results to you as quickly as it can. Additionally, from a supportability perspective, 2008 and 2008 R2 have entered, or will be entering, have entered extended support period. So that's where things like fixes are not going to be supplied, so KB fixes, but security fixes will be. So it's a reduced level of support. So that's something that's going to be key.
So John, are there also some benefits that our administrators can get from upgrading their infrastructure at the same time if they're on an older version of Windows Server, say 2003?
Yeah, I mean, 2003 obviously is going end of life very, very soon as well. But if you look at Windows Server 2012 and 2012 R2, we've made some massive enhancements to the underlying platform. Things like storage spaces, they're really useful if you've got lots of locally attached storage and you want to use the software tier for giving you that resiliency within the application for when it comes to your storage. Additionally, the enhancements that have come in with failover clustering, which really underpins availability groups and everything that they can provide for you. The dynamic quorum and the dynamic witness capability of 2012 R2 really means that you've got that capability to go from a very high-end large cluster and in the worst circumstances fail back to a single node to keep your business really working.
And also maybe if you're upgrading your hardware, it might be a great time to look at Microsoft Azure virtual machines as a way to reduce your CapEx and your OpEx when you're hosting your SQL Server.
Exactly, and that's what I see a number of customers doing at the moment. They're seriously evaluating the Microsoft Azure IaaS platform. We've got gallery images, so you don't even have to bring your own licenses. There's licenses included up there as well, and that's a sort of, it's very, very interesting for people in this day and age. Just the fact that they haven't got that huge CapEx expenditure of large servers, the fact that you can start small and grow in the business, that's something that's going to offset an awful lot of people expenditure. So,
for sure.
So again, scalability perspective when it comes to upgrading. 2014 standard edition, now this is a big jump. It used to be 64 gigabytes of addressable memory. Now we're talking 128 gigs of RAM that it can address. That's a big, big upgrade. More partitioned in partition tables, increased amount of compute, so more cores when you go to the core enterprise licensing model. And more complex and more reliable configurations. Windows Server 2003 and SQL Server 2005 clusters, they were somewhat complex to configure and set up. Windows Server 2012 R2 and SQL Server 2014 for failover cluster instances and for availability groups, it's very, very easy to get a very resilient, highly available, disaster recovery resistant platform built in place. And really sort of touching on here, deprecated features. As we introduce new features, we look to take old features out, things that people aren't using now, where once we had something that did the job, we've now come up with something better. So in the case of things like mirroring, we're now moving towards availability groups, which gives us more replicas, readable replicas, and things that people have been asking for a long time. So we've increased that capability in the platform.
So where are we sending people for documentation on this? Is it the SQL Server Books Online on the MSDN website?
Yeah, we've got fantastic documentation up on the Books Online on the MSDN websites. A lot of people know about the deprecated features pages that we have. Not so many people understand that we've also got documentation up there about breaking changes, removed features as well, and actually changes in behavior. In 2012 and 2014, there have been some changes in the CLR behavior, and all of that is documented as well. So it's something that you can do your research on, and you can find out and see if it's going to be applicable to you before you make that change. So doing your research is going to be key, and we've got some fantastic documentation in that space.
Great.
Okay. So now we've covered sort of the scale, the reason for upgrading, the scalability and what have you. Now we look at the migration process steps. Now we start by covering the upgrade paths. Now this is going to be a key thing to understand. Now I've included 2000 on this slide because there is still some of it out there, despite it being out of support. So what people want to do is they want to come up to the latest version. They want to come up to either SQL Server 2012 or SQL Server 2014.
I noticed that you have service packs
Yes.
noted on this. Do you also need to be on the latest service pack before you make your upgrade?
There is a specific matrix for which service packs you need to have available to you. If you're going up to 2012, as we look here, you can't go from 2000 SP4 up to SQL Server 2012. What you can do, however, is go through SQL Server 2005 SP4. Now, SP4 is the upgrade path from 2000 version to 2012. And again, 2008, it's Service Pack 2 up to SQL Server 2012. 2008 R2, we're looking at Service Pack 1 as a minimum to go up to SQL Server 2012. Now, when we bring SQL Server 2014 into the mix, what we can see here is, again, as there was with 2012, there is no direct migration path from 2000. However, SQL Server 2005 Service Pack 4 to 2014 directly is a supported migration path. So, with people who've got these legacy systems in place at the moment, the ones that are sort of to the back end of the supportability matrix, there is an easier migration path. You may not want to upgrade in place, so you want to refresh your hardware platform as well. And in that case, you can do the backup, you can do the restore, you can do the attach and detach mechanism, that type of thing. And then, as you can see here, the difference between the 2012 and the 2008 and 2014 is that it's Service Pack 3 and Service Pack 2 for 2008 and 2008 R2 respectively here. So it is a higher Service Pack level in order to come up to SQL Server 2014 as the supported migration path. And of course, you can upgrade from SQL Server 2012 Service Pack 1 up to SQL Server 2014, which you're seeing actually quite a lot of people doing as well now. They're making that jump. They're using 2012 as the intermediary before they're coming up to the SQL Server 2014.
Great.
So now we look at covering the process. Historically, it used to be just a simple backup and restore. I need to take the database from my old system, I need to put it on my new system. As I said earlier, we're looking at systems being far more complex now. There's a lot more things, there's a lot more moving parts that need to be taken into account for this one. So some of the other things as well you need to look at, because the systems are more complex and you're looking at large web farms, you're looking at potentially large finance systems, or things like the Dynamics platform where you've got a number of application servers, reporting elements, you've got other areas as well, so you've got analysis services and cubes all tied into it. There's a lot of things that are dependent on the actual underlying data platform. Now, what that means is that you have to look at expanding that scope. You have to look at understanding that you're going to be talking to other areas of the business, you're going to be talking to other areas of your team, whereas something that you used to be able to do internally, it used to be something that the DBA could just work through individually, moving the data between the systems and upgrading them pretty seamlessly in the background. It's not always the case in this day and age. Yeah, there's going to be some systems like that out there, but more often than not, it's going to require talking to the finance department, the infrastructure department, sales department, understanding what their requirements are, which software packages are they doing, especially when you look at people now wanting to move up to the cloud as well, up into Microsoft Azure. What options are there? Do you want to move your databases into that? Are you going to move your app tier? Are you going to have a hybrid approach? So understanding where the strategic direction of the business is going, that's very, very important.
Yeah, it sounds like engaging the business owner up front would be a great way to help make your case for the upgrade as well. When you're looking at the upgraded features and the better performance, just really getting them involved up front could help you make the case for doing this upgrade.
Exactly, and anything, especially in finance departments, when you tell them it's going to make their compliance a lot easier to get past, they're going to buy into it. So, I mean, one of the key things really to take away here, and it's the final point on this slide, is that you really need to look at treating it as a project. That's something that I've found in my personal experience to be key. I have seen when things go bad, and it's not pretty. having to work very, very long hours to bring a system back online and roll back, and then understanding what went wrong and why, and it comes down to the fact that you didn't have the business helping you out. That can cause a problem. So, as